Tim Wiggins from Exclusive Networks here. What I wanted to cover off this morning, what we've got scheduled to cover off, is a little bit around user authentication, identity management, around the FortiAutenticator. Welcome to Forti Fridays. Please do let people within your organizations know about Forti Fridays. We're keeping them going on for the rest of the year as well. They've been very successful and well attended for the past 3 months since we started them. As I said, we do vary them every week, so we do they all start at 10:30, and we do alternating sales and technical sessions. Chris Pritchard did a technical overview session last week on FortiAutenticator, and we've got a couple of others coming up which I'll highlight at the end of the presentation, what we've got scheduled coming along as well. These are here to help you. Any questions, just let me know. Also, any ideas, any suggestions, topic areas that you may want to be covered off as well. We do get requests through. I had a request through this morning from someone asking about doing a potential session around the new EMS. So that's something we are potentially going to be scheduling in the next month or two as well. But any ideas, do let us know, and please give us your feedback as well. So yes, so welcome and thank you very much for taking the time this morning as well. So with no further ado, let me just make sure everything works. Right, got everything back up. So you should all be able to see my screen and that as well. So as I said, it's around, what I'm covering off this morning is around the whole user identity and access management. And when we look at it, and we look at some of the challenges that organizations face around the whole authentication and identity management, I think a lot of people agree it's all around control and access to various resources within your network. You know, what is your intellectual property? What is where your server sitting? Where's your data sitting within your network? And who can access that data? And things like guest users coming onto your Wi-Fi network, controlling access into that wireless network in a secure manner, but allowing in a manner that people can actually get on and do what's required for them on a day in, day out basis. And one of the other things that I get asked quite a lot about is how do we integrate in with existing infrastructure. So again, it's the ability to link in with Active Directory. Can we use radius authentication? What other means can we actually authenticate into? What systems do we need to authenticate into as well? And making sure we implement a policy that's appropriate for everyone. So just running through a couple of case studies or more of implementations and around the whole FortiAutenticator side. One of the key areas is two-factor authentication. So we can actually take two-factor authentication, utilize that as an alternative to simple passwords, and implement everything in a controlled manner as well. So it's around giving people access to what they need and securing network resources, network access. So two-factor authentication, something you have, such as a bank card, something you know, such as a PIN number or a password, and we can implement that in a number of different means. So what we're doing here is using two-factor authentication as a means of actually authenticating a user, validating what they can actually come into and access within the network. And we can do things like hooking that into the Active Directory environment, and it's about reducing the costs for access. I've got a background going back some years with two-factor authentication, and the number of organizations where their help desk gets inundated at certain times of the month because of password resets. So two-factor authentication, using something like a token, reduces the overheads on help desk staff resetting passwords, reduces the requirement to reset passwords or implement a password policy that says we're going to change it every single month and create some of those problems as well. And we can do that within the actual FortiAuthenticator framework and allow things like self-service password resets. We can also handle the actual flow and distribution of tokens in the event of a token being lost, and the redistribution of tokens as well within those environments. The token types and shouldn't be of any surprise to anyone. So we can deliver physical tokens. It could be a token with a 6-digit PIN code on it or passcode on it. It can be in the form of a USB type device. We can also load with certificates on there as well. We can also go tokenless, whereby we can do it with SMS messages or email messages as well that contain a one-time passcode to log in. And the tokens also have the mobile token too, which effectively you're loading it onto a mobile phone and a mobile device. And if you look at the proliferation of that, it's a very cost-effective way of doing it as well. One of the key things with the Fortinet tokens is they don't expire either. It's a one-time token, a one-time password that you're actually getting off the token, but you're buying a license for that token to run on those devices. So if you're running it on your mobile device as well, you're buying the token, putting it on your devices, and you're allowed to reallocate that out to various users as well, and you're not having to pay for an ongoing cost of having that token and running as well. We've also got the capability of using the API within that, so we can customize what the look and feel is of the actual authentication logging into various systems too. And bear in mind, we can utilize all the tokens that we're talking about here in various different environments with things like FortiClient. So we can actually use it as a means of logging onto devices, authenticating users into the network and into the network resources as well. And it has full radius capabilities within that. I mentioned very briefly the mobile tokens as well. So they do run on any of the mobile devices, so iOS, Windows Mobile, Android. You've got variations of the tokens, so you can get 6 or 8-digit passcodes on there as well, and various times for refresh on there. It is oath compliant, so it can be used in various different implementations as well. And there are a number of implementations that call for oath. So if you've got an oath compliant system, you can in fact use the Forti token within those environments and import the tokens directly into those environments without FortiAuthenticator, just as an example. I mentioned it is a perpetual license, and that means you can buy the license, implement it, and it sits there forever. So you can reissue those tokens out if a device is lost, for example, on a mobile device. If it's lost, the user leaves the organization, you can reallocate the token as well. We also got the capabilities within FortiAuthenticator and its implementation to do authentication onto wireless networks. So we can use that as a means of authenticating the actual users and devices onto the networks. And I think this is becoming an ever-increasing or ever more important side of things. I was in a customer a couple of months back, logged into their guest wireless, or someone gave me the passcode or the password to log onto their wireless network, and it was actually quite interesting to see what was actually on the network, because you could literally see right across the whole boundary of the network. They hadn't actually segmented the network correctly and implemented full control. So it is important to authenticate users onto the network, know who those users are, and also what resources they have access to. So making sure that that's implemented correctly and that you've got some form of authentication and control within that is important. So what we're able to do, again, with the FortiAuthenticator, and I'm going to come back and talk a little bit around the certificate-based authorization as well, because we can manage certificates within FortiAuthenticator as well. So we're actually providing logging capabilities of devices and users onto the wireless network, prohibiting those that we can't, or only allowing access to certain specific areas. And we can also do that through a captive portal as part of that too. And I think that's something else that's becoming ever more important, as well as how people are actually logging details, and is the information of use as well. You know, I have a partner who's logging users onto their actual network as a guest access, and using that as a means of actually helping those users buying goods as well. So they're actually able to log on to they can actually go straight onto their systems and actually go in and order goods online while they're in their stores. I mentioned the captive portal. So they use the capabilities of user self-registration. We can capture all the details, so we can collect the collection of the email address, making sure that we validated that user as well. We can use SMS as a means of actually identifying a person. So someone could be coming into a reception area, for example. They within the organization as a visitor, they've signed in, we know that they're a visitor into the organization. We can capture those details, and they can actually get the actual login details onto their mobile device through SMS, for example, and that gives them access onto the network. And we can do the usual things of limiting time into the on the network as well. So we can set time limits so they can only be actually on the network during the normal business day and while they're actually in the offices as part of that too. We've also got within the FortiAutenticator side, we've got the single sign-on capabilities too. So again, it's controlling what we can actually access within the network. So we can allow a person to sign on and then control where they can go within the network and within the resources without them having to log on to multiple different systems all the time too. And we can actually use that within the FortiGate, FortiMail as well to apply appropriate policies. So I can log in what websites or what services can I actually use within the network as well, what servers can I access. And even down to what systems I can automatically go in and gain access to, and it allows us to set the granularity or the very detail of who can access what and when they can access those services as well across the network. So in terms of the single sign-on, we've got full transparent user identity across, irrespective of where they're coming in and what they're coming in and through. So they're coming in through any Active Directory or Windows environments. We've got full identity and full transparency of seeing those users and what they can access. We've also got the ability to actually use different widgets and logins, and we can hook in, I mentioned, to utilizing things like FortiClient as well. And we've got the APIs in there, and we've also got links in with the syslog for logging purposes, and also radius accounting. So we can actually track who's logged into when, what, and how, what they accessed as part of that. So we've got the full capabilities utilizing FortiAuthenticator as a means of doing that in a very effective manner and without replicating different services as well. So we can actually use it as a means of doing that logging and tracking as well. I mentioned earlier on about devices and device authentication. So the FortiAuthenticator can actually be the certificate authority, tracking and managing certificates within the network as well. So we can use that for both the device. So we can actually authenticate the device, authenticate the user if they're using something like a USB stick, and we've actually got a certificate on that. And we can also revoke and as I said, manage those certificates as well. So I, as a user, come in the morning, I've logged into the network, I'm using my USB stick with a certificate on there to authenticate my device and myself. If I leave the organization, one of the things that we can do is just revoke the certificate. It may be a certificate on my actual laptop, so we can just revoke it and then limit access into the network. So we can control all of that through the FortiAutenticator. And again, I've got a number of customers that purchase FortiGates, and they put FortiAuthenticator on as the side of all of that as well, to enable them to do provide all the functionality of logging into the network, for actually doing the certificate management and actually validating devices coming onto that network as well, and the users too. So we've got all that capability, and you can obviously load certificates onto that, and enables you to distribute those certificates out to users and to devices as part of that. And it also allows us to do things like controlling the VPN access. So, for example, when I go out to a guest site, I'd literally connect my machine into the network, hook it up to the wireless, hopefully authenticate myself onto that wireless network as well. But the VPN is automatically enabled, and it configures the VPN back into our FortiGate, validates the certificates, make sure everything's in place, and I can then go in and access the services that I need, access the systems I need, as in how I use them. So I mentioned earlier on as well, we can do the radius, is a radius accounting proxy. So we can actually take the FortiAuthenticator and actually use it within various network infrastructures as well, and use the radius single sign-on, and actually use it as a means of doing as an accounting proxy as well. So we can actually go and track things. We can reduce some of the load on the systems by actually duplicating and handling the radius authentication side and the tracking. And again, that allows us to apply various policies onto devices, be it FortiGate, FortiMail devices out there, or be it another radius device out there as well that I mentioned earlier on. So we could be connecting into various other systems, and we can actually do the accounting and the authentication of users accessing various systems on there. The FortiAuthenticator can be deployed in a couple of different modes. So we can actually deploy it as an active passive, where we can hook the systems together and actually synchronize. So in the event of a failure, we go from one active system, we go across to a totally separate system that supports all the features on there. So it's literally just failing over to the other system. We can also do active-active, whereby we can actually distribute the FortiAuthenticator around various areas, be it geographically within an organization, allowing local users to log in and load balance as well across different networks. It can be very handy for users, on a enterprise or an international type basis, where users can log in locally, as well as that you've got the failover in the event of them being elsewhere, or a system going down as well. And it supports all the features within that as well. It's something that again I've come across multiple users doing that. I've got a council, in fact, who's for some reason or other have actually deployed multiple versions of FortiAuthenticator in 4 or 5 different locations where they've got critical staff. That's provides them with a certain amount of redundancy and the ability to authenticate users locally and have the failover as well. So if there's any implementation specific requirements from any of your customers, do let us know. I have pulled our technical team in. We can get them involved in looking at what the customer's requirements are, what the sizing is also required for that particular implementation. So just in summary, and I know it's not the most thrilling subject, so we, as I said, we can do all the authentication requirements. We can meet all the requirements for customers, and I have actually had users of competitor systems say, well, we didn't realize we can actually do all this with FortiAutenticator. So we can do the radius authentication. We can hook in with Active Directory and do the radius requests as well. We can hook in and do single sign-on. We've got the capabilities of customizing the login credential as well. Linking that in with certificate management, two-factor authentication, we can authenticate users going into the network and making sure people are going where they need to go. And we can do that with, as I said, the single sign-on capabilities, and also linking in with third-party systems. Anyone who's got a requirement to do radius authentication into a system, we can use a FortiAuthenticator to do that with as well. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of background on FortiAuthenticator, where it fits, as well its capabilities. We did do a technical session on FortiAuthenticator, I think it was last week, if I remember rightly. We will probably be repeating that again. If you've got anyone or any customer requirements around authentication and user identification, please do let us know. As I said, we can certainly get involved. We can look at what the requirements are, how you want to implement that within the various environments, and propose an appropriate solution as well. The FortiAuthenticator comes in a number of different variations, so we do have physical appliances for it as well. So we have the FortiAuthenticator in various guises on hardware, but it is also available as within a virtual machine environment as well, where we have got full stackable user licensing. So if you've got a customer who wants to look at FortiAuthenticator, we can provide it as a demo license as well, where you can get everything up fully functional and run it, test it. If they're happy with everything and they want to put certain users on there, they can start off with something like a 100,000 user license, and as they grow and deploy more of the services out there and start utilizing the FortiAuthenticator within their own environments, we can then load additional licensing on those capabilities as well. And that also applies to people like ISPs as well, who may want to use FortiAuthenticator for authenticating users into various different systems. They can do that, stack those licenses as they bring more and more end customers onto their systems as well. Hopefully that's been informative. I don't know if there's any questions out there. I'm not guaranteeing I'll be able to answer them all, but I will certainly try. Any questions, do let me know. As I said, please don't forget Forti Fridays, 10:30 every Friday. And the next one is on the 2nd of September, and that will be around specifically around marketing. So Sue Thomas, I think, will be presenting at that. We've then got a couple of others. We are just in the process of finalizing some of them. So the 16th is around the Forti Analyzer, Forti Cloud. We've got one at the end of sales one at the end of September on the UTM, and we've also got some technical sessions coming up. So do let your technical people know about those as well. Then if there's any questions, drop me a chat line. I will open up the audio as well. So if there are any questions, please do shout out or drop us a chat line, or if you want to, you're welcome to drop me an email as well. I think about someone just trying to drop me a quick a message across here.
Got to make up for the lost time.
Someone's just asked as well if the slides are available. I can certainly make sure the slides are distributed out to anyone out there as well. I can certainly do that, so not a problem there. So a quick question I've had come in here is to do with basic authentication being on the actual FortiGate. At what point do we suggest we move from authenticating on the FortiGate to using FortiAutenticator? Good question. It's very much around what your customer is trying to achieve. So, for example, get a number of customers out there that just want to do basic authentication on for VPN type services. You can do that using the FortiGate and using the capabilities of the actual FortiGate itself to authenticate, for example, using a VPN, using something like a FortiClient as well. If you're wanting to do authentication into multiple systems, or you want to start authenticating and starting to use things like the captive portal, and some of the services around the captive portal, such as capturing the email address, users' details when they're logging in, on that type of environment, then I would say you probably need to start looking at FortiAutenticator. So it is very dependent. You know, the minute you move away from just doing authentication to doing guest wireless access, authenticating devices onto your wireless networks, you know, guest access, that type of thing, wanting to use a captive portal, capture email addresses, logging into various other systems. If you want to start looking at and across multiple domains, so if you've got a large number of domains out there, 2 or 3, 4 domains that you want to log across and actually control access to, then it's worthwhile seriously looking at something like FortiAutenticator for those environments. Again, if you've got a customer that's not sure about what they're trying to achieve, more than happy, we can get on a call with a customer, discuss what they're trying to actually do, see if it's actually something we can do within the FortiGate itself, or if it's something that we need to extend out onto something like FortiAutenticator. Hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions? Well, again, thank you very much for your time. If there is anything else, please do drop me an email across. You got any suggestions, just drop me an email, twiggins@exclusive-networks.co.uk, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks on one of the other WebExes as well. Again, don't forget to let your technical teams know about the technical WebEx sessions as well that we are publishing out there too.
Morning, Nico. No, kind of, it goes back to the old adage of as soon as you do something as cheap as you can, you're going to